Hello, I'm Beth Hillson, food editor at Gluten-Free and More. If you've ever made gluten-free bread, you know it can be a challenge. Some breads are dry and crumbly or too gummy in the center. Others rise beautifully and then collapse the moment they come out of the oven. Whether you're newly diagnosed with celiac disease, gluten sensitivity, or a wheat allergy, the prospect of not being able to eat decent bread can be downright depressing. Not to worry, I've been baking gluten-free breads for years. Today, I'm sharing my secrets for success. First, let's talk about the science. Well, actually, gluten-free bread defies everything you've ever learned about food science. No gluten means no structure. So most of the challenge is trying to add back some of that structure to our dough. Let's talk about that dough for a minute. It's really more like a thick, sticky batter and can't be mixed by hand like wheat bread. The best way to make gluten-free yeast bread is with a stand mixer, a handheld mixer, or in a bread machine. The good news is that since we're not building structure, because we have no gluten, it can be made in less time. One mix, one rise, and the dough is ready to bake. The components of a successful batter are a blend of gluten-free flours, liquids, gum, and yeast. The secret to success is that delicate balance of wet to dry ingredients. Add too much water and the dough puffs way up once the yeast is activated. The bread collapses the minute it comes out of the oven. Add too little liquid and the yeast has to work too hard against our dense, heavy gluten-free flours. It doesn't rise very much and it's dry and crumbly. Not very appetizing. So how do you know when you have the right ratio? Well, let me show you with this gluten-free pumpernickel bread recipe. I've blended all of my dry ingredients beforehand. You'll find that list at glutenfreeandmore.com. In the mixer, I'm adding warm liquids to the dry ingredients and beating to combine. Then let's raise that speed to medium and beat about 3 minutes. Notice the strands of protein building as the dough becomes smooth and shiny. Now we know it's ready to scrape into the pans. Smooth the tops and cover with plastic wrap that's sprayed with vegetable oil. Set that dough in a warm environment to rise. Gluten-free dough is happiest when it's in a warm, draft-free environment. When the dough is risen to the tops of the pan, remove that plastic wrap and put them in the oven. Bake 30 to 35 minutes at 375 degrees or until an instant read thermometer inserted into a loaf registers 190 to 200 degrees. Now our bread is done. Turn it out of the pan and onto a baking rack to cool. Here are some helpful tips to ensure success every time. Make sure the ingredients are at room temperature. Use active dry yeast, not rapid rise yeast, which might not be up to the task with our heavier gluten-free bread dough. If you vary ingredients, never change the ratios. For the full recipe and more tips, visit glutenfreeandmore.com.